Well, here we are back again. Welcome to Quixotic Heights, the podcast where we climb to new perspectives through story, creativity, and resilience. I'm your host, Amy Emily, and today we're having a fireside chat with the multi-talented Dee Britt. You see how I did that?
I did.
Dee is the author of the Fireside Series. She's a voice actor, singer, retired physical therapist, burnout recovery specialist. She kind of does a little bit of everything. And Dee's work weaves together storytelling and healing, showing us ways to restore both our body and our spirit. And in this episode, we'll talk about the power of voice, how to balance passion with well-being, and the ways creativity can light out the path out of burnout. So settle in, and it's time for a conversation that's equal parts warmth, wisdom, and self-care. With that, welcome, Dee. How are you?
I am good. Good to see you, Amy.
Good to see you. I am so hyped on caffeine right now, so I'm counting on you to take me down a notch and definitely talk about burnout because I think that's something that we all face. But before we even get to the burnout part, tell us about your quixotic dream.
Oh, you know, it has morphed over time, I think. Um, when I was a kid, I always wanted to make people laugh, and I wanted to be a mix between Carol Burnett and a cartoon artist.
Ooh.
And what I have found over time, I think what uh, my chaotic dream is more like trying to help people, um, just help people, especially lately the burnout thing, something that I really was blindsided by. And I just see how all the experiences of my life have brought me to a place where I need to get better organized with it. But I think everybody has experienced steps like I have experienced, and people are afraid to talk about it. And so I guess what I'm saying, I have had a lot of different experiences, but now later I have found out I think each one of those stepping stones has led me further down the road to really what I've been, to my calling. That sounds so cheesy, but you know what I mean.
No,
Yeah.
I totally understand what you mean, and I think we all have a purpose. Sometimes our purposes evolve, and as we experience new challenges, they truly are stepping stones to help us grow into ourself,
Yeah.
so that we can help others. And that's what a beautiful thing. And you mentioned that sometimes people are afraid to talk about it. I'm curious to know why you think that is the case.
Well, because I was afraid to talk about it, for a long time. It's just always been my personality that, I was an athlete when I was a kid, so you learn how to dig deep and not complain and just lay it all out there, and that is still a part of my personality that I kind of have to watch because I can get myself loaded too much. And yeah, that's kind of how I landed in the burnout spot. A lot of it was myself, allowing
Mhm.
myself to take on more than I probably should have. But I always viewed myself as a really strong person. But in studying burnout, there's a question that just drives it home to me. And it is, you can ask, let's pretend we're in a huge room with 1,000 people in there. And you could ask them the question, do you think it is weakness or do you think it is strength when somebody talks about their struggles and how they overcame them?
Mm.
Everybody, most everybody would raise their hand and they would say, well, that's a strength, if you can do that. Okay. Then you follow that up with look at yourself. And when you have struggled, have you seen that as a weakness or a strength?
Mm.
Almost everybody puts up their hand that they feel like in themselves it's a weakness. But when they see other people put it out there and talk about it, they see that as a strength. So I think it's a real dichotomy. But when I first started, I mean, I had to heal myself. And part of the healing is talking about it. Part of the
Hmm.
healing is reaching back to somebody that you see some of the little signs of it. You know, you see the signs, you see somebody who's going through it, and just to say, hey, man, you know, if let's go get a cup of coffee, let's go do
Yeah.
something, and give them an opportunity to not feel so vulnerable and talk about it. So,
Yeah. And it's so easy to do that for others, right?
yeah.
But we don't say, hey, Dee, or hey, Amy, I see you're struggling. Let's take a breather and let's talk about it, even if it's to
Hmm.
ourselves and doing mirror work or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Words of affirmation or whatever.
Hmm.
Why do you think it's so hard to do self-care? Because they always say, oh, put the oxygen mask on you first before you can take care of others.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
know what to do,
Uh-huh.
but yet we
I,
don't.
to me, you know, there's a few things. One of the things really, it goes back to that mindset. You know, mindset is a lot of it.
Hmm.
But going back to that beginning place where it's like, well, I don't need help. I just need to suck it up and get through this one sticking place. You know, I don't really need it. Um, and I think that something I wasn't expecting, but it can take a lot out of you facing yourself and what you need to recognizing things for what they are. The weaknesses in me were not what I perceived them to be. You know, not being able to handle it. You know,
Hmm.
I put a meme up on my Facebook. It hadn't been all that long ago, and basically what it said, it was just like, "Oh yeah, I feel that." It was like, you know, being strong isn't that you have the ability to endure and hang on and stand up through all the trials. True strength is getting knocked down and getting back up and having the strength. It's the vulnerability thing. You know, we all feel at risk. We don't want to be on the outside. We don't want to be pulling up the rear of the pack, especially if you're a go-getter and you're used to kind of leading the pack. You
Hmm.
know, you feel like you're not pulling your, basically, I felt like I was not pulling my load. I was not, uh, pulling my load.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was not expecting it to take, it takes a lot of energy to learn new techniques. You know, I did not meditate before all of this. Um, I meditate every single day and looking at all of the things that I was actually doing to myself. Poor diet, not as active as I should be,
Hmm.
worrying a lot, letting my mind perseverate, just think in circles, uh, worry. So
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things are hard. Those were the hard things. You know, I'm used to physical hard things. This was emotional and it was spiritual, and committing to that, committing to doing the inner work was the
Yeah.
hard part.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to pause right here because
Think of, let's go with that one's finished. What's the next question?
let's talk about your personal journey.
Okay.
Because you've been through so much, and to get to the point where you're like, I'm going to talk about burnout. I'm going to develop a workshop around this. I'm going to, be a burnout recovery specialist. There's got to be a personal journey there that led to this decision to
Mhm.
pivot, right? And so
Right.
I'd love to learn more about that.
Okay. Um, you mentioned I was a physical therapist and loved being a physical therapist. It was all the extra stuff, excuse me, all the extra stuff that kind of came along with it that, and any healthcare worker these days, I would love to meet somebody that has not felt challenged with the paperwork changes that came along, the mentality of do more with less, still be a light for your patients, still have a great motivated outward expression, but inside there's just days where you just don't have the stuff, you need a rest. I can remember there have been times when I might have a particularly hard patient, not physically, not the diagnosis. For me as a therapist, the difficult time was if I had a patient that didn't want to try. I knew that they didn't do their exercises. Difficult in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you more than once. I would say, hang on just a second. Hold that thought. I forgot something. I need to run out to my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go out to my car, and I would sit there and give myself a pep talk. I knew that I was either probably going to say something that I truly didn't really mean. I'd let some words slip that I shouldn't. And I still wanted to present as the therapist I really am. But
Mm-hmm.
that was probably when I really started noticing the shift that I would, or I would go in my car and I would yell,
Mm-hmm.
anything to try to get the energy to change. That's when I kind of first started feeling it. And when our company changed ownership, and there's always it's always chaos. And I was already not talking about it. And I really felt so alone. And I didn't even talk about it to my family because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want them to be worried about me. I wanted to be strong for them. So as that all happened, and then I went to help my mother-in-law. We moved in with her to because she has passed since, but at 98 she passed, and she needed some help. She was living on her own until she was almost 97, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I felt at that time I didn't know if I had it. I didn't know if I had it in me, but I also knew that I needed a change. Something had to change. Something was going to change. And I wanted to have more control over that than just
Yeah.
have it happen to me. And one of the neat things, moving in and being a direct caregiver for somebody who has dementia, it takes your attention. It puts you in a different frame of mind. It was really, really difficult, but I will tell you, I would have never, because I depended on, is that the way to put it? Had I not researched and found some of the answers like meditation, changing the way that I ate, spending time outside. I've always been an outside person. When I was a kid, I stayed outside until it was dark, but I was not spending any time outside. I was not physical enough. I started seeing all these things. And so to make it day to day, basically, I took care of today. I made sure I did
Mm-hmm.
XYZ, and also having a greater need than myself, that I needed to really be a provider of care. I think God put me in the only place that I could have turned things around. It was tailor made for me. Tailor
Mm-hmm.
made for me. Somebody needed me, and I needed to turn myself around to be there for them. So I did
Mm-hmm.
it daily, just daily, making it day to day.
Incredible. Yeah, I grew up in the 80s and I just remember same thing with you, once the street lights come on, that's when it's time to come home for dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're otherwise outside riding your bike, climbing the tree, whatever, skating. And nowadays it's sad because so many of us are in front of our computers, or in front of our phone devices or our
Yeah.
Chrome notebooks or whatever it is, our
Mhm.
kids. I worry that they're not getting the exercise, and there's so much benefit to just play.
Oh,
right?
yes. And you bring up such a great point, Amy, because it's part of the mindset where in research and all this stuff with the burnout, uh, kids are starved for play, adults are starved even more for play. A lot
Hmm.
of us feel like we are, uh, you're not working, you're not doing what you're supposed to do unless your nose is to the grindstone. It's part of our culture, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
But like
hey,
I even remember like at school, you do your lunch and then you get a full 30 minutes of recess. And you wait for that whistle to blow and then you line up and you get into your classes. But nowadays it's like they barely get to go through the cafeteria to get their meal. They're scarfing it down and then they have to pretty much run to class. Right?
right,
There's no play.
right,
And even PE is now like a an activity that is not required. Right? It's one of those, yeah. But
exactly.
anyway, how did you go about starting this business though?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been digging around on the internet, and all people know I am not a technology savvy person. So the books that are here, uh, Amy published, her company Quillhawk published them for me. She knows I like a little in the technology area. I had thought about uh, getting getting a presentation together and doing it, at different civic groups and that kind of thing, because I thought that would be, and it is a good place to start. But I saw an ad on social media about how to tie it all together, and how to actually just kind of build a platform,
Mm.
build the, and that's a lot of tech. It's more to do a virtual school like that. Oh my gosh, a lot more than I knew it was going to be. But I'm just about there. I got it approved for CEUs, for physical therapists, for their clinical
Mm.
education. I've been approved for 3 hours for that. So that's a. But had I not learned how to do this business of the marketing of it, putting a platform together that has so many different moving parts, so that's how
Yeah,
I learned about it. And if anybody's interested in something like that, you can learn it. Just get on the internet. You can figure it out.
that's truly one of the hardest things to do as an entrepreneur is launching the business because you don't necessarily know, you don't know what you don't know. That's what we
Yeah.
always say. And building the brand, that foundation is
Hmm.
is tough to start getting yourself out there so people start recognizing you and the logo and what you actually do. And then
Hmm.
of course after that it's the curating and business development piece, right? Like how do I find my people that need my services or
Right.
whatever? And it's so multifaceted because you're not only helping them recognize burnout and recovering from it, you are doing speaking engagements, you're also an author, which we'll go into that as well. So there's a lot of moving parts.
A lot. Yeah, a lot of
So
moving parts. You're
yeah,
right.
I feel like a puppeteer, or just like a juggler when I first started. So I don't know about you, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
and
go
and
ahead.
that little kind of all the pieces that you mentioned, it's not hard being motivated, because if you feel it like it's a calling, you kind of can't do it. I mean, you got to do it.
Yeah.
But it's knowing how all those things fit together, and knowing it's the niche finding. That is that, and your audience finding.
Hmm.
And I think things, I don't know, you probably have an opinion on this. I'm kind of on, social media's changed a lot over the last so many years. It's a great place to throw out seed. I think it is a good place, but it's not the only place. And some of the other stuff, it's gotta also have some, what am I looking for? Have some
Well,
payoff.
Yeah. So other than social media, what would you say are some of the promoting, branding, marketing opportunities out there for businesses?
What this is just my thinking, and it may be just be my thinking. I haven't researched this at all, but I do think the more face-to-face human touch you can do, the better. If you can, for me, I have always had a great response if I could just get my body in front of a group, you know, and
Hmm.
then from that gather emails. You talk a lot about emails when you coach us, and
Hmm.
you're 100% true. I mean, it's 100% because that's your link uh, to people who are interested. Let them know what you're doing. I have a friend who lives in Washington, and she says, you just have to tell them what you're selling. There's a buyer. But if you're not clear in communicating what you're selling,
Hmm.
you're fumbling. They're not gonna, they're, you got to succinctly, consistently tell people what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I'm still not there yet on all of that kind of stuff. I'm
Well,
improving.
yeah, it's part of the learning and building and growing. But once you figure out what your vision, your mission, your
Mm-hmm.
goals are, what your tagline may be,
Mm-hmm.
then then it's a matter of practicing and living that brand, right? Like you have to going to have that trust in you.
Right.
Yeah, yes, and that is hard. But so what's an advice you can give to someone who might be experiencing burnout? First of all, how do you recognize it, and then what do you do?
Yeah, the things that they just feel off to you. If you're typically at work, this can also be uh, compared through at home, at work, lots of different situations. I'm going to compare it to work just because, well, that's my closest relationship to it. But just know it can be other places too. Like if at work, if you're in a staff meeting, um, are you somebody who typically interjects? And gives your opinion. If you find that you're sitting back and you just think it's not going to matter anyway, they never listen to me. What, why would I mention anything? Uh, Fatigue is another thing. So if you feel yourself withdraw from people at work, huge, that's a indicator. If you find that you're fatigued, it doesn't matter. You first wake up in the morning, you're fatigued through the day,
Mm,
trouble sleeping. Another thing, um, moody and kind of biting people's heads off, you know,
mm, mm-hmm,
that kind of thing. Making really poor food choices. If we choose the right food to begin with, it helps us control our emotions. But if I'll tell you, being a physical therapist, if you're anybody who's a traveling nurse, physical therapist, or somebody who has a route, if you get behind, you don't. If you get behind in the beginning of the day, it makes you a little bit late for everything else. So there were days I never ate real food.
mm-hmm,
There were days I'd stop and get some Fritos, you know,
mm-hmm.
eat it on the way. Um, those are some things that are just really um, almost always happen. For me, there was a sense um, that I just any opportunity I had to get out, get in the community, go dancing, or go to a game or something. I was just like, oh, I just don't have it in me, And I would
Mm-hmm.
just say, and then somebody would say, I don't get it. What's going on? You would typically, oh wait, what's going on? And I just said, I can't explain it other than I feel like I am just being dragged away by floodwater. I
Mm-hmm.
have I nothing to hang on to. my life, I have no choice. I'm just being sucked down. And that's a common sensation that you have no control, no agency in what happens to you, and just overall, you just feel like you're a whisper, a whisper of the person you used to be. I have
Mm,
no joy. That's a big one. No joy, no uh, sense of control over my own life. And I
mhm,
think we do a lot of that to ourselves, because I was always the one at work that would, get up at 3 a.m. because a patient had a dressing that needed to be changed. I just go do it. Nobody expected me to do it. I just, because that's what the patient needed, I would go do it.
mhm.
And, when you don't have the desire to do that anymore, and that used to be kind of my jam, you know,
Yeah,
it's just, you just feel like everything just kind of slips through your fingers. So
yeah, yeah.
that, and then as far as what to immediately start doing, uh, probably the one single thing that made the biggest impact, even if it's a small thing, the next time somebody asks you to do something, next time somebody asked me to do something, I knew I was upside down and I needed to change. The next time at work, they said, "Hey, after you're done with your day today, would you please go check on some so and so?"
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'd say, "I can't do it today. Somebody else will get a hold of somebody else," and just leave it at that. You don't have to give a explanation. You don't, all just, and when I started feeling, and that's when I realized when I started saying no, when I knew I was overwhelmed,
Hmm.
then that freed up time for the things I love to do, you know?
So important that we give ourselves that agency to say no, and also to give ourselves the grace because, we're running on fumes. We've been doing this for years where we're giving, giving, giving selflessly.
Right.
And so it feels weird to all of a sudden say, no, I'm going to take
Yeah.
a moment for myself. And people are like, what?
Mhm.
And it's, guess what? It's okay. The world will continue to move on.
Right.
Um, so I want to pivot our conversation. I see
Okay.
behind you, Fireside. And so both of your books are on music stands. Let's just start with that. That tells me you're musically inclined. I've heard you sing, I've heard you play guitar, I've heard you do voice work. And I would love to learn more about where that talent started, what you're going to do with it, what you've done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, the singing part, the first I ever sang in front of anybody was really church, and was part of the choir, and I already kind of piddled around on the guitar and everything, and then it just kind of, at church they say, "Well, sing a special," so I'd sing a special. Then I got a band at church. I had 2, 3 church bands, and then I started playing around town, uh, and it just, a true love for it,
Mhm.
was really, and as long as there was a door open for me to sing, I was gonna sing and write. And that's what really led to the books, was songwriting,
Mm.
trying to tell a story. Most of the songs I write are storytelling songs, and so, and that kind of, I mean, very basically, that kind of led into that. I think, not that I'm not afraid of things. I have fears just like anybody else, but for the most part, I was never afraid of singing in front of people, and
That's
I think
beautiful.
yeah, I just didn't have a fear for it, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I did see just kind of my big picture of how I want to, help carry people's pain is really my big picture, I think, for what I was meant to be. And you can physically see emotion on people's face. I mean, when you sing and you see that, it's like I can really I can help do
Yeah.
that.
I love it. I love that you pivoted from songwriting to writing novels, and you're right, music is it transcends across borders, languages, cultures,
Mhm.
whatever. It moves people, and at
Right.
the end of the day, that's what ties us is our humanity and our love for each other. But so one of the things that I'm going to request you to do that I would love to add on to this podcast towards the end is for you to sing, and not now, but record it, and then
Okay.
we'll add it to the end of this show. But sing your song, check your pagination. um, I love it. So you're gonna have to dig that out because I want people to hear your voice. But
Okay.
I also want to. I think it's an awesome song because it has to do with writing for others,
Yes.
right? But check your pagination is a hoot. I love it.
Okay.
Okay, and then but let's talk about your books. How did you come up with the Fireside series?
Well, from my work, um, something I haven't mentioned yet, and it's kind of it surprises me that I haven't. One of the things that has driven me through most of my adult life is that I just have a love for elders. And in physical therapy, I had a great opportunity to meet a lot of elders, and help them and learn from them. And one of my pet peeves has always been, and since my therapy days, to walk into an assisted living center or a nursing home, either way, but let's say assisted living center, and there's a man sitting in a wheelchair. You can see the gravy on his shirt, and maybe he's got a sweater on, but people don't even hardly. People walk in the building and they just look right over his head or her
Hmm.
head. I mean, they think, oh, well, they're kind of they would never say it, but they're kind of used up. Look, they got wrinkled pants on, and kind of overlook them.
Hmm.
And that always just really bothered me, because as a physical therapist, I have treated a Ziegfeld Follies dancer.
Hmm.
I've treated undercover uh, police officers. I've uh, I mean, just you wouldn't believe it. Homeland Security, big guy, um, anything but shriveled up with no courage. These our elders have courage. They have had to live lives we because of progress, we've never had to do that. And so that's where the Fireside series came from, because the setting is an assisted living center. And
Hmm.
the characters are, I think it's kind of the whole series is built off of character development, really. I mean, you get invested in these characters, I
Hmm.
hope, and just shows the resilience of the our elders, their humor, their knowledge, and their wisdom. You know,
Yeah.
so that's where it really came from. And each book has a focal character, and there are flashback scenes to show, like James Johnson is the guy in sitting in the wheelchair, like right. Oh, I can't do it. Right there.
Yep.
Yep. And he was a black guy who went to high school, fell in love with a little petite white girl, but this was back when segregation was big. And it shows their life flashbacks to his young life, where he had to deal with prejudice, and both of them had to fight to stay together. And so
Mm.
it flip flops back and forth from current day to the past. So that's kind of how that came about. Most of the characters in my books, although they are not autobiographical in any stretch, a lot of the really cool characteristics of these characters, they are from people I actually treated. I mean, a lot of
Wow.
it comes through. Yeah.
Would you be able to do a reading from one of your books?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Okay, this is from Fireside, the West Lion story.
Mhm.
I'll just give a little bit of backstory. There is a resident who was an Auschwitz survivor, uh, Mr. Epstein, and he is very connected to his pants. And they're not fancy pants, they're his everyday pants, but seems like the administrator keeps trying to get them away from him. So it should be pretty self-explanatory as I get into it.
Go
So,
for it.
okay. I will not let go. Mr. Epstein held onto his favorite pants. Why are you doing this? Those are my pants. I want them back. For a little man in his late 90s, he could put up quite a scuffle. Mr. Epstein's hook nose nearly met his chin, and without his teeth, it was even more pronounced. His receding gray hair was slicked back with Vaseline, and the nape of his neck sported a curly fringe while waiting for a good haircut. Amanda, his certified nursing assistant, bribed, "Just let me sew the hole in the knee. I'll bring you some extra bacon with breakfast tomorrow morning. What do you say?" Mr. Epstein's grip tightened as his speech raised an octave. "What do I want with bacon? I'm Jewish. I'm an Auschwitz survivor, and you will not outlast me. This I know. I have the favor of Abraham and the fight of David. I will spend my last breath holding on to these pants." Amanda scanned the area to see who was listening. "Mr. Epstein, my boss told me not to come back to the break room till I get these pants. After I sew them, I'll bring them back. Can you help me out?" Mr. Epstein knew who was behind this. Irma. Directly or indirectly, Irma was everyone's boss, and she had been trying to throw his pants in the trash for over a year now. Mr. Epstein knew what he had to do. "Ginger! Where are you? Ginger!" Mr. Epstein held onto his pants with white knuckles in one hand and banged on his wheelchair with his cane with the other. Ginger heard Epstein's yells, and she knew what was going on. Of course, those idiots tried to take his pants again. That was the ultimate icing on her crappy cake. She grabbed her lab coat and put it on as she stomped down the hall. When she approached Mr. Epstein, he raised his cane and exclaimed, "Sweetie, tell this little girl these are my pants. I will not have them thrown away. She says she'll give them back, but I know the drill. My property is my property, whether it's a toothpick or my pants. I still wear those pants almost every day. It was wash day, and I took them off for the laundry. And this girl here, Alicia," Amanda exhaled. "Amanda. My name is Amanda, Mr. Epstein. Like I said, Samantha is trying to take my favorite pants. I know it's not her fault. That battle axe Irma. She's behind this. She has to be." Ginger held both palms up and shrugged. What's up, Amanda?" Ginger knew Amanda. She was dependable and good-hearted. In fact, she wished most of her nurses had the same integrity and work ethic as this young CNA. She knew Irma forced Amanda to confront Mr. Epstein, but she had to hear it from Amanda's lips. Amanda shrugged to hold back her tears. "I need this job. Ginger, my family depends on me. I don't want to offend Mr. Epstein, but Irma said that my work hours would be cut back if I don't get his pants and sew the hole in the knee." Ginger squatted by Mr. Epstein's wheelchair. "If Amanda promises to return your pants, washed with the holes mended, will you let her take them? I can vouch for her, Mr. Epstein. She's good people. Mr. Epstein glared at Amanda. Do you promise me? Look me in the eye. I know a liar when I look 'em in the eye. Mr. Epstein still had held tight to his pants. Amanda apologized. Yes, sir. Just let me wash and mend them, and I will bring them directly back. And I promise not to bring you bacon. You are going to bring him bacon? Ginger quizzed. Mr. Epstein loosened his grasp and let the pants slip through his fingers. Amanda gazed down like she should know better. Irma told me he liked bacon. Go take Mr. Epstein and take care of his pants the way that he directs. Ginger instructed. I'm going to have coffee with Irma. Mr. Epstein straightened his spine and carried him Mr. Epstein straightened his spine and carried himself with the respect that Ginger recognized. Ginger stopped by the dining room on the way to Irma's office and picked up a couple of coffees with cream and sugar packets. Ginger knocked and waited. Irma recognized her knock and waved her in. What a surprise, Ginger! What's on your mind? Ginger simply said, Mr. Epstein. She started dressing up her coffee with cream and sugar. As she stirred the cream and sugar, some coffee sloshed out onto Irma's antique desk. It was all Ginger could do to leave the spilled coffee right there. But this was part of her plan. Irma immediately noticed the coffee spill, and without mentioning it, just handed Ginger some tissue to wipe up the mess and a coaster to protect the wooden desktop. Ginger took the tissue, blew her nose, and threw it away. She left the coaster right where Irma placed it. Ginger leaned back in her chair and put her feet up on Irma's desk. Ginger saw Irma's brow furrow as Ginger's nasty boots slid across her heirloom. Irma scolded Ginger. Why did you come in here, Ginger, and get your boot-stomping feet off my desk? Ginger swung both feet off her desk in one smooth motion, then cleaned up the spilled coffee with a remaining tissue. Ginger leaned forward. Bacon? He told Amanda to give Mr. Epstein bacon? Oh, I see what this is all about, those hideous, stained, worn-out pants. I just told Amanda that little nugget of information to try to give her a little leverage. Everybody loves bacon. Irma smiled, delighted in her tricky thinking. Ginger pleasantly agreed, but her volume grew as her comment progressed. Yes, everybody loves bacon unless you practice a religion that rejects pork. Mr. Epstein is Jewish. Irma squinted and tilted her head. Really? Huh. I didn't know he was Jewish. Demonstrating Irma's focus on the residents was all about the money. Her connection with them revolved around the Fireside bank statement. Mr. Epstein, I'm sure, is a nice man, but his worn-out pants are offensive when I give facility tours. He has better. He should wear better. Irma gathered stacks of paper on her desk. She straightened them into piles by lightly tapping groups of paper vertically to align the edges. Ginger knew if she raised her voice that Irma would disengage. She continued with a measured tone and volume. If Mr. Epstein had any trust in you, he might listen, but you have done nothing, done absolutely nothing to instill that trust. The primary interaction you have initiated revolves around two things: timely payments and getting your hands on his prized possession, his pants. Get to know him, learn what is important to him, and meet his needs where you can. He will then listen to you without suspicion. Irma defended herself. How could those pants be important in any way? Ginger saw her chance. Why did you give a shit that I spilled coffee on this old banged-up desk? It's easy to see. It's seen better days. I have several coffee rings. I see several coffee rings on that corner, and the decorative carving on the front has a large chunk pulled completely off. I see you have built up that rear leg with a folded piece of cardboard because the desk is wobbly. There's a proper desk in the nurse's lounge. Have maintenance bring that down here. It would make a much better impression on the prospective residents taking a tour. Irma briefly turned her head to the window so Ginger couldn't see her lower eyelids filling with tears. All those things give this desk character. It's an heirloom from my mother. She got it from her dad, my grandpa. She returned her eyes to Ginger once she gained composure. The coffee rings on the corner are from long midnight sessions when Mom pored over bills while I was sleeping. The decorative carving was ripped off the front when I tied the dog's toy to it. Whitey sank his teeth into it and ran, ripping the carving off the desk. I have lugged this desk around with every move I have made since my mom died. It gives me comfort when things get tough. Ginger leaned back in her chair, glad she gave Irma space to talk. That, Irma, is why Mr. Epstein holds on to those hideous pants. They were his pants. He survived Auschwitz, where his clothes today would pass for dress clothes. He learned to live on so little in that concentration camp. He learned that everything he values has nothing to do with material gains. Freedom, integrity, and faith, to name just a few. Your desk is your desk. His pants are his pants. Leave him alone. We'll stop there.
Oh my goodness, that was so good.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
Part of me wanted to cry. I was like holding back, hold back, Amy, hold back. Um,
Oh,
I love the Fireside series because there's so much wisdom and messaging, you know, just really about compassion and forgiveness and taking the time to understand people. You know, we all have a story to tell.
absolutely.
And empathy is built from just being able to listen and observe and talk to one another, right? Just the
I
basic
love it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think our elders would, they like to talk. I mean, one of the things that as people age and their social circle gets smaller and smaller, there's fewer and fewer people to tell stories to. But
Mhm.
if people act disinterested or if they don't give them a chance, then they think they don't have anything to offer, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love what you just said. That's really what it's all about.
Well, my dad, he's in his 80s, 88. And when we reconnected several years back, the first thing he told me was how lonely he was. He said that when you get older, your world just gets smaller and smaller because, your friends, they pass away, your children move on, you're afraid to like walk outside and go 1 block because maybe you'll forget how to get home, and so you don't exercise outside, you can't drive. So it's not like you can just go to a community center and hang out with friends or so yeah, and he's like, my eyesight is bad, so I don't read, but I'll listen to music. And that's what he does every day is just lay there and listen to music. And he's got his routines. But
Right.
yet, if you were to interview him and ask him about, his life journey, it's amazing. It's heartbreaking. It's full of resiliency. So yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned today in speaking with you, Dee, is really to two things: take the time to care for ourselves, listen to ourselves, right? But also take the time to listen to our elders because they have so much worth in this life,
Oh,
and they still do.
right.
Don't discredit and just pass on because we can learn so much from them.
I love it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dee, for
Oh,
sharing
you're
that.
welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, before we close, I would love to talk more about your voice acting and narration and whatever you have going on there.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just now, which did I start with? I am currently in studio doing, well, in my little studio. So it's little bitty. But the same book, West Lions, I'm recording that for an audiobook.
Oh.
We'll do the and I maybe got that backwards. I didn't know which, but I started with the second book and then I'll go back and get the first book. That's kind of, I got into it primarily to do my own books.
Hmm.
And we'll see how all of that goes. I've got a nice little setup here at home. I can, as long as it's not too hot. I really had to kind of, because it's a two-story house, old two-story house with no air conditioning, and where my studio is. So,
Yeah, yeah, you
so
got to be comfortable.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I put that on hold for just a little bit. But one of the things I enjoy doing too, I haven't done any yet. Been focusing on the books a lot, but I like doing different voices and short, little. Yeah, it would be so much fun to do some short spots commercials, and
Hmm.
I think I may give that a run. Just put some of my stuff out, put my demo out to different places, and see. Because I'm kind of in the country now. I live in Chickasha now, and so
Yeah,
there's some smaller radio stations that may have a few spots that they need covered.
yeah, yeah.
That'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Do you want to share maybe, a couple of your voice range talents?
Sure. Um, a few of the voices I do. One is a old country boy. One is like an NPR anchor. Well, first I'll just tell you about Joe. Joe live off in the sticks over there, and you got to go up on top of the mountain. And once you get up there, then you got to look for the fence that has the red ribbon on it. You're going to turn there, turn right. Then you're going to go down to the barn that's on your left. And that's where we got that tractor for you. We've been waiting for about a week now. So come on out and get it.
Awesome. What about like a little child?
Oh, come on, Amy. Oh, I love to go skipping up and down our driveway, and I learned that from my sister.
Oh my gosh, I just want to hug you. So beautiful. I love it. Thank you for doing that.
Oh,
Uh,
you're welcome.
all right, my friend. Is there anything else that we want to talk about that we didn't cover yet? You've got so many talents. Like what are you working on next other than or what are you working next in the Fireside series?
Yeah, that's probably the next thing in queue. Um, I am Potawatomi Indian, part of the Potawatomi tribe, and I, our history. There's a lot of history we haven't really been taught in schools, and something that kind of got glossed over was, the relocation of tribes, and more to me, even more emotional was when tribes were being located. And way back into the 1800s, I didn't really realize it went back that far, but into the early 1900s, taking children out of the home forcibly. They would show up and just grab the kids, and they would take them to residential schools. And these are little kids who don't have their mama and daddy. They would not let the kids speak their native tongue, so they had no way to communicate. They cut their hair,
Mm.
which, according to their culture, uh, took away power, your power and wisdom in your hair. They made them basically wear clothes just like any little white kid. And that, very was very it just left them without an identity. And then on top of that, the kids were tortured. And so, and this suffering, a whole generation, more than one generation, really, but a good friend of mine from my hometown said it really well. She said, any Oklahoma native, a native Oklahoma person, anybody living here, either lived through it or has a friend or family who lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same kind of thing where people didn't want to talk about it. They felt it was a disgrace what had happened to them. They didn't want to share it, and they didn't want to put a burden on their family that was still, that hadn't experienced it. They didn't want to put an emotional burden on them. So there have many of them have never told their story. And so I wanted to so the next flashback character, her name is going to be Sunning Turtle, a turtle sunning on a log. She'll have a nickname like Sunny or something like that. But she is an elder who did live in a residential school, and most of her other family has since passed. And so she moves to Atlanta, where her daughter, one of the only remaining relatives, is, because she wants to be near family, and she has to move into Fireside because she needs more care than her daughter can give. And so I won't spoil a whole bunch, but I will tell you, in the opening scene, she's smudging her room to prepare it for her spirit and to clear out, well, even just health-wise, it's a healthy thing to do, but it also gets your emotions and your mindset in a place of newness, of restoration. And so she was going around smudging her room. And if you don't know what smudging is, it's not just natives, but natives have done it for forever. It's burning certain herbs, and as the smoke rises, it is symbolically your prayers and yourself being lifted up to the Great Spirit so that you can be healed in lots of different ways. And she was just trying to prepare that room for her because it was going to be her safe place. And of course, the crabby Irma comes down the hall and she smells the smoke. So she's going to straighten her out.
Yeah. Oh,
That's the intro to the book. But I hope to bring honor to the Potawatomi and to all the people who suffered terribly. One thing a lot of people don't know, everybody's heard of the Trail of Tears, relocating tribes. The Potawatomi were a part of the Trail of Death, which is very similar to the Trail of Tears, coming down from around the Great Lakes area. And many of them, the end of the trail was in Kansas and in Oklahoma for many.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's the thing about your book is like, it's not only emotionally charged and entertaining, but it's also educational, about some of the history that we have in.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of this has been tight-lipped. I mean, people who have lived it, they haven't, a lot of it has not been documented in a big way. So I was able to find somebody who was willing to share her family's experience and what because she didn't live it. She was a descendant of those that did, but she did some of her own research that kind of helped me too. So I'm excited to write it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a lot of research and interviewing when we write our books, even if it's, fiction, there's still a lot that goes into this, and I don't think readers know.
That, and you know what you just mentioned, I had talked to a few who said, well, yeah, but when I mentioned it was fiction, I tried to explain it's just, to have a proper backdrop. I'm not going to twist any story you tell me, but it is a fiction story that for it to do well, I mean, it's got to have the right backdrop, the right history to have it. The bones need to be The bones need to be
Yeah.
real, and the story laid over it is fiction. And I had some that didn't want to do it because of that. But that
Mm,
this one, yeah. Anyway, that is a great point. The
yeah.
fiction, you got to have your backstory straight,
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, because you're dealing with a little bit of historical, fiction context. So that needs to be the
especially this
integrity of the history. Yeah, needs to be
especially
right.
this one.
Well, it's been a pleasure, my dear. As we wrap up, anything else you want to share?
Oh no, I mean I feel so blessed. Probably two things I'll say, and I'm in my mid 60s, and several times along my life I have felt like I found my calling. When I was singing every week in public, I thought that was a part of my calling. Uh, Definitely being a physical therapist, part of my calling. Um, Even my burnout is a part of my calling. What I found was they maybe were little stepping stones to my true purpose, but
Hmm.
I was just learning things I had to learn to carry the load that I was intended to carry at the end. And singing in public, speaking in public, doing all these things have prepared me, I hope, for doing what I was meant to do, which I think is to help people lift their load. And then the last thing, I want everybody to know how much I appreciate Amy. I mean, she is a fan. She guide. If you want to write a book and you don't know where in the world to start, that's kind of where I was. I was already writing, but I didn't know what I was doing. She never makes you feel like you're stupid. She lifts you up. And, to be totally honest, both of my books probably wouldn't have happened had she not carried part of that for me. And she's just always a bright light. You know, in life, when you're looking for where you need to go, you got to look for other people near you because you're not going to do it on your own. And Amy has helped me reach my goals. So,
Yay.
yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I believe in you. I believe in the story. Those books become my book babies because
we do.
we work together, I mean, it's a true partnership.
Oh,
Um, and I'm excited for the next book with Sunning Turtle. And I mean, that's just amazing. And, with your voice acting, I will say this, that's grown too, because you're also signed for a project with Louise O'Connell, right?
that's
Who's working on is that Marbles in the Mailbox?
yeah.
Her memoir about wrongful conviction and allegations. So you're going to be doing like some
True.
narrating for the documentary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm excited for that too.
yeah, that's very, very cool. Okay, where can people find you to learn more about your work, Dee?
Okay. Probably the easiest thing is just go to deebritt.com. Just deebritt.com. And all that I'm
Perfect.
doing is on there. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram mostly. So it's an easy way to find me.
All right, super. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Amy.
You're very welcome. Well, listeners, that was Dee Britt, and she was sharing her journey through storytelling, voice, and healing. I hope you found as much inspiration in this conversation as I did, whether you're a creative, a healer, or someone navigating burnout yourself. As always, thank you for joining Quixotic Heights, where we celebrate the stories that lift us higher. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please do subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need a little fireside light in their life. Until next time, keep reaching for the heights and keep telling your story. Thank you so much, Dee.
You bet. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
But wait, there's more. Stay tuned because you're going to hear the sounds of Dee Britt just now. Check your pagination. Enjoy.
Started with a pad and pencil, an idea sent from God. little time and inspiration to get an indie off the snob. Some are larks and some are vampires. Manuscripts I'm numbered too. Trash is full of twisted paper. First draft of 92. Check your pagination, margins on the side. Check your trim and font, so proud to write. Just when you think it's almost over, point of view and tenses shift. It's enough to crack the bottle. It's gonna be a heavy lift. Now the cover's in alignment. Front, the back, and spine. Copies stacked with each revision, page by page and line by line. Check your pagination, margins on the side. Check your trim and font, so proud to write. Proud to write, yeah, it gives me life.